many huge dreams and plans and ideas, and it was exciting to be around. He shared them in a way that made me feel like perhaps I was allowed to have those sorts of ideas too. I didn't have to just settle for things as they were. I could go out and make something happen. He opened my eyes to the community of people out there going on ridiculous, amazing human-powered journeys, running over continents, sailing across oceans, cycling around entire planets. It was following these people who were just like me, really, that made me wonder if perhaps it wasn't totally out of the question for me to do something like that too. But being with Greg wasn't all good. In fact, it was mostly pretty terrible. As the months went on, I started to suspect that perhaps the things he was telling me weren't always entirely accurate. Nothing ever seemed to quite add up, whether it was what he'd had for breakfast, where he worked, stories about his family and his friends, the swimming pool that was apparently in his garden, the businesses he said he was doing deals with, the celebrities he was supposedly hanging out with. His version of events never matched up with mine, or with anybody else's, it seemed. At first I just put it down to misunderstandings, but after a while I started to feel like I was going mad. I was living in a fog and I couldn't break through to anything that made sense. It's confusing to look back on. Our whole relationship was so miserable, but without Greg opening my eyes to all this adventure and possibility, and without the motivation of wanting to impress him, however much I hate to admit that, would I have dared to go and run around a country? Would I have even wanted to? I'm not sure. Is it worth spending month after month crying on buses, on trains, on friends, in the toilets at work, in the pub, unable to shake that impenetrable feeling of doom and inadequacy and utter confusion, if in the midst of it you make the best decision of your life? Is it worth losing yourself completely for a year, for longer, if it leads to you doing the thing you're most proud of? I've thought about it a lot, and I'm still not sure, but that's how it was. Greg was the first person I talked to about my idea. I messaged him on the way to work one morning and told him there was something I was thinking about. It's about 5,000 miles, I texted. Perhaps I could do it in a few years? I need to save up and train and, well, figure out what on earth I'm doing. But perhaps in a few years I could do this thing. What do you think? Set off in November, he replied. Go then in 6 months' time, or you'll never go at all. Right. Okay then. Now, memories of Greg live firmly in the very negative experience box. It took a while, but the lid is shut. It's hard, looking back at that time, to sift through all the sadness and pull out any positives. But if I'm trying hard to be objective, this was something that Greg got right. If he hadn't told me to go sooner, and I hadn't so readily agreed, I'm almost certain that I wouldn't be sitting here now writing this story. If I'd waited, allowed time for all that preparation, I never would have gone at all. 6 months, that was long enough, right? I moved out of the too expensive flat I shared with a friend and took a room in a house share with 6 others instead. The savings from this alone would be enough to get me round the coast, I thought. I was wrong about this, it turns out. Very wrong, but we can talk about that later. 6 months was plenty long enough to research some kit and look at a few maps. And to learn how to run a long way, perhaps. Something I'd never done before. November the 1st, it had a ring to it. No matter that I'd be staring right down the barrel of a grim English winter, this was it. I told my parents next, who seemed a bit bemused. I'm sure they thought that this was just another of my many ridiculous ideas that would never happen. And I can't blame them, really. I would call them on pretty much a daily basis to announce yet another new career plan. Banker, MI5 agent, social worker, baker, physiotherapist. This was just another one to add to the list. Next I told my boss, then my best friends. We were in a pub garden at the end of a night out, and it just came out. It probably goes down as one of my weirder drunken confessions, and that's saying a lot. They definitely thought I was ridiculous. My brother Chris was the most confused, though. He was the sporty one in our family and has been running competitively since he was 8 years old. He definitely hadn't seen this coming. I don't think there was anybody to whom this felt like the natural, obvious next step for me. You see, I was completely unqualified to be setting off on a 5,000-mile run. Just writing it down, even now after I've actually done the thing, it sounds barbaric. When I tell people about it now, having done it, they immediately get the wrong idea about my athletic abilities. No, really, honestly, I'm not a very good runner, I tell them, and I definitely wasn't then. It sounds like I'm just being modest, but it's the truth. I'd been running for less than 3 years at the point I decided to run around the country. On New Year's Day 2013, I sat down to write resolutions with my cousin, and one of mine was to run a half marathon. It felt like an unfathomably long way. The thought of running for more than 2 hours without stopping, I couldn't get my head around that being something my legs would ever be able to do. I was obsessed with the not stopping part, which is ironic.